Welcome back to another Creative Studio Productions podcast. I'm John Oney.
And I'm Ben Branham.
And today we are talking about the Poop Factory.
Yes, we are.
But first off, Ben.
Yeah.
How was your time this week?
My time this week was good.
Yeah.
My cousin, who I haven't seen in a long time, stopped by and we had lunch with her, and then she ended up staying overnight because she lives up in Grand
Rapids?
No.
Grand Forks?
No, Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids.
Yes, thank you. I couldn't think of the town. Yeah, so she lives kind of far away, so we don't really get a chance to talk to her much and see her, so it was great to catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
How was your weekend?
Man, how was my weekend? Well, we spent the time with some family,
nice,
some friends, went over to their house, and my kids decided to put on a little kid play.
Oh, no way.
And
that's awesome.
Usually I would think that my oldest son, Abe, he's always talking about like princesses and Barbies and dolls and stuff like that. But Teddy actually came out dressed in a princess costume, and Abe was Thor.
That's amazing.
It was amazing because usually I think of them as the exact opposite. Like Teddy wants to be the superhero and have like the hammer and everything, and Abe would want to be the princess. But no, it was pretty funny because it threw me for a loop. Yeah. And they're like, "Hey, can we do a play?" And here comes Teddy, and he's got like this long like ponytail hair thing with like a tiara and in a pink dress.
It's amazing.
And then Abe has the Thor costume and like the hammer and whatever. And you know, little kids' plays are
entertaining.
Yeah, they're entertaining. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that, you know. But Abe was directing it all, so he was kind of after my own heart, like being a director. And you know, hey, you go stand over here. And Theo's like, I'm the evil princess,
the evil
princess, with his pink dress and costume on. So it was pretty entertaining to watch.
That sounds amazing. You should have filmed it.
I know I should have filmed it. I mean, for comedy, this is what we do. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they would love to show that to their significant others when they grow up.
I'm sure you would love to show it.
I would love to show it to them. But, well, today we are talking about the Poop Factory.
Yeah.
And so we call it the Poop Factory. Here's why we call it that. And that's because it's actually a biosolids factory that takes waste, solid waste and liquid waste out of water that goes down your drain, goes down your toilet, goes down your shower. And it takes that waste out and turns it into something good. It turns it into fertilizer for your crops.
And from what I understood is that the water that they separated, that goes to the facility that actually filters water out. So they are like the first process, right, of filtration.
Yeah, they're the first step in the whole cleaning the water process.
Yes. Yep. But like you say, the rest of it's literally poo.
Yep.
And it's they use it for fertilizer, right? And which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Using it for a different purpose other than just like throwing it away.
Right.
They can use it as a recycling.
Right. They actually give it to farmers. They mix it with some lime and they give it to farmers, and it actually helps their fields to grow crops and fertilizes the soil. So how did we even get them?
Yeah. So the reason we're talking about them in the first place is we got them as a client, and they came to us with their big long name and they're like, we want to make a logo. And we're like, cool, but that's a really long name.
You have to fit on a logo.
Yeah. So, and we're like, yeah, we can totally help you. This is an exciting project. So John and I got together and we kind of brainstormed like, hey, can we maybe make this really long name shorter? And so we brainstormed some options and we presented those options to them.
Yeah. Cause wasn't it like 5 words or 6 words long?
5 or 6 words. Yeah.
And we got it down to like 3.
Yeah. So that was good. And I was very happy that they were receptive to shortening it, because that made making a logo a lot simpler and a lot more effective too.
Right. Well, I think what people don't understand about like company names and like this was, we should also explain, like this was part of a government entity.
Yeah.
Kind of a local government.
Yeah, local government.
And when you have such a long name, one, it's not memorable. And 2, people don't identify your company with a long name.
Right.
they might, if it is a long name, they'll shorten it by just using the initials.
Right. Yeah. So I was happy they were receptive to that because it was a mouthful.
Right.
So, so we did that. We presented some options, logo options to them using our name that we came up with. Even at first they were a little like, well, we still want to use that really long name. So can we do initials? And it was like,
yeah,
like 5 or 6 consonants in a row. I'm like, nobody's going to remember this.
No,
I'm sorry. So they all agreed.
Yeah.
And they used the logo. And that was pretty much the end of that project.
Right.
For a few months.
Right. And then eventually, after we kind of helped rebrand and everything, they kind of came back to us because they had, and so many times we've encountered this with different companies, is they'll purchase a website.
Yep.
And they think that the people they purchase the website from not only are going to build them a custom template, but they're going to do all the copywriting. They're going to put in pictures. They're going to do that. And
they're going to place all the content for them and make a website. And
that's not what this company did at all, actually.
No. And it was a website company that was focused on small government agencies or government identities.
Right.
And so it was a interesting experience because it was kind of a mess a bit.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they came to us and we actually were able to sit down with their operations director and everything. And we kind of had a meeting at a small restaurant in a little small town in Wisconsin.
Yeah. It was
a good time.
Right. And he was super overwhelmed because he's like, I purchased this website thinking that, again, that they would have content and they would just edit it as they needed.
Right.
And he was like, I'm so overwhelmed. This is not what I do. Right.
Right.
I manage a waste biosolid facility.
Right.
So
he's like, I'm not the creative type.
No.
I don't know how to do this.
No.
Like I need somebody to do this for me.
And I was super happy to hear that they were so impressed and excited to work again with us.
Right.
They loved their logo. And we were able to really, how would you say, make it so the logo felt earthly.
Yes.
And had that kind of recycle feel to it. And they really wanted that with their site as well.
Right. I remember sitting down with him at this small restaurant. We're kind of going through our brainstorm and our creative ideas and whatnot. We had presented a couple options, but I remember specifically one of the things that he said was one of the negative things we get about this poop factory, as we're calling it, is that people say it makes the town smell.
Yes.
That there's a stink to it.
This was a huge hurdle that they're trying to overcome because they would get a lot of hate phone calls and emails and be like, these guys are in town. We don't like them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that actually caused them to like look into that a little bit. And they actually implemented some strategies. Like I think there was some sort of, I think it was lime or something that they were mixing and stuff. So the smell wouldn't be that great. But he said that's one of the hurdles, like you said, that they were trying to overcome with the town. And so we were at this brainstorm session and I think I had just in a late night thought of the phrase, you can't polish a turd. We've all heard that phrase. We've all heard it. But almost as like, let's flip the narrative a bit for some of their content because they wanted us to create website content, website copy, wanted us to take pictures. We did a video for them. And one of the things that I was like, hey, let's take this negative narrative and let's flip it.
Yeah.
So I think the main website, the head page says, they say you can't polish a turd. We beg to differ.
Right.
You know?
Right. And adding humor and recognizing that they know it doesn't smell pleasant.
Yep.
Flips it and it diffuses people's reaction to it. Right. And so, and to recognize that it is a recycling process.
Right.
This is good for the environment. Right. And so.
Yeah. Because I don't think people really really knew what they did. And that was part of the problem is they didn't have a website prior to this.
They had no website, no branding.
Yep, no branding. And so people just knew there was this factory out here or recycling plant, and it smelled. That's what they knew.
And when they came into town, into the farms, they knew it was going to be stinky.
Right.
When they laid down their product on the field, it would smell bad, and the local residents would have a fit.
Right. And so we flipped the narrative on the head to diffuse
and educate.
some of that and educate.
Yeah.
And we were able to write website copy that did educate people about what they did. And I will say this, it was interesting walking through the website process because we use various website builders. But this specific website builder that we were using for this one was one we'd never used before.
No.
It was tailored to small governments,
Right.
Kind of agencies. And to be honest with you, it was a little bit of a mess, in my opinion.
It was 100% a mess.
But that's what they had purchased. That's what they were going through. So we had a learning curve, but we said, well, we're in this together. We're going to learn this and we're going to help you out.
Right. Yeah. And we were able to still utilize the features that they wanted in that site. Like one of the biggest things was that was a plus to them was they could upload PDF documents and calendars, and they could share that because that was a need that this government site needed. Right. Right.
And they wanted to send it out to the entire town. And so like you could sign up, I think, for e-newsletters.
Right.
You could get notifications. They could subscribe to their RS feeds. So whenever they did post a file, then, people who've subscribed can then get the notification, and it will ding them and basically say, hey, there's a new meeting minutes for you to check out.
One of the things that was really helpful too for writing content and just wrapping our heads around their company was the lead facilitator guy. He gave us a tour of the plant.
Yes.
And he's like, some of it's not very pleasant, but I mean, it was very interesting and educational to see what this stuff, what they did.
And people weren't wrong. It did smell.
Oh, 100%. It was bad. Like I remember going home from that day and still smelling it.
Smelling it. Yeah, yeah.
Still on my clothes. And we were there for what? Maybe an hour?
Yeah.
And it even kind of opened our eyes a bit to what we could do ourselves as a as families. Like we need to because you could see in the water and their filtration, hey, this is the plastic that's coming through this and through this waste. And it's like, it was eye-opening.
Yeah, no, my family actually completely changed because of this experience.
I love
as far as our plastic use, because one of the things that we saw in it went through this turning process, and then they filtered out stuff and they put chemicals in it. But once the fertilizer got to the final stage, it was going out to be put into the piles where people could take it and go spread it on their fields.
Right.
But there was these little dots in there, like green and orange and red. And I asked him, I was like, hey, what are all those dots? And he said, those are plastic pieces that are impossible for us to get rid of or to remove.
Right.
And that stuck with me because plastics have carcinogens in them. And plastics that go into the soil, who knows what the plants are taking up. I'm not a scientist. I'm not claiming that's happening. But it's also plastics going back into our soil that we eat food from is not a good thing.
Right. And you always think I throw away this plastic. It's going into a dump site.
Right.
You don't think of it going into your water system.
Right.
And it does.
It does. Absolutely does.
So.
And it can cause lots of problems for even the facility treatment place because, like we said, they can't filter all of it out.
Right.
Right. That was hugely fascinating for me and my family. We went through a whole process of, we got cloth bags, we got canvas bags when we go to the grocery store. We use those reusable bags. We were buying bread from Panera and making them put it into our cloth bag. Our toothbrushes now are like bamboo and boar's hair, and what. But there's those little changes you can make in your life that can, in the grand scheme of things, is my is my family not doing plastic going to save the planet? No. But I will say this. We had the largest garbage can that you could get, and we would fill that. It would be overflowing every week when the garbage people would come by with plastic and waste. We now have the largest recycling can and the smallest garbage can, and that smallest garbage can is maybe filled up every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, awesome. I mean, we've cut our waste by 80%, all because of this experience we went through with
this great client.
Yeah. So yeah, it was absolutely fascinating. I want to say this too. I think when we first started meeting with them, they were almost a little shy about what they did.
Yeah.
It was
slightly humiliating.
Yeah, it was a little humiliating.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we really wanted to highlight is this is good work.
It's great work.
We need this in our society.
It's hugely important.
So the other thing we put on their website was they're helping grow America because they literally are. They're fertilizing the ground.
Yep.
And it was fun to see kind of that humiliation turn almost into some pride in what they do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes, we kind of turned that narrative, but we also gave them a sense of purpose. I think through what we provided through their website.
Right.
And they loved it.
They absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
It was great. And it was wonderful to work with them. They were an amazing client.
Right.
I hope to work with them again.
Yeah. So that's kind of an example of how maybe a client might view their work as not a failure, but almost not important, and we turned it into something that is a success for them, you know, because that's what this podcast is all about. We're talking about taking maybe some of our failures and how we've turned those into successes. That was a previous podcast when we talked about the mug.
Yeah.
But this was really kind of a different failure that was turned into a success. Here's somebody who came to us who thought that what they did didn't matter.
Right. It was mundane. It didn't matter.
Mundane. Exactly. It was humiliating, and how we made them feel, and how they could feel that what they did wasn't humiliating, but they could be proud of it and turned it into a success.
100%.
I loved that.
Yeah. Me too.
Is there anything that stuck out to you as far as like graphic wise on their website that?
No, I mean, really the biggest thing was, again, showing through their logo that they were doing something good for the earth, right?
Yep.
So the colors we used, the font that we used, it was all like, it felt like they were recycling something. They were doing something good for the earth, and that people could get behind them,
right?
You know, and look past the smell.
Right. Look past the smell.
So. Well,
yeah, I think that was good too, because their other logo, it was literally just that long name, and it was like in a very generic
Times New
font.
Roman, yeah.
Like it didn't really tell us anything about what they did. You know, and in fact, I think some of the words in it were like, "What is that word?" And we had to look it up,
right,
and whatnot,
which is not helpful either.
Right. And so taking not only the website and the video, but also taking the graphic and turning it into something that they could, the logo into something that they could be proud of and communicates their purpose, gave them a sense of pride in what they did.
Yeah.
And so if we can do that as a company, if we can take, another company's, quote unquote failure and turn it into a success for them, that's a win for them, but it's also a win for us.
Absolutely.
And we can feel good about the work we do, and they can feel good about the work they do. It really comes down to, in my opinion, valuing people. Valuing people and what they do. Every job is important, no matter how small.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, from the person who is serving chicken at Chick-fil-A. This is not sponsored by Chick-fil-A or Chipotle or whatever, to the doctors and nurses in our society. Every job allows our society to continue, you know? And I think that's one thing that is good about when we come into a situation like we did with the poop factory. We're just calling it the poop factory. It's not really called that.
No.
But being able to give them a purpose and that pride is awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on our Creative Studio Productions podcast. We hope to see you next time. Same great time.
Same great place.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.